What's going on, everyone? Today we are talking wide receivers that are absolutely skyrocketing up underdog fantasy boards. Not necessarily wide receivers that I love, but wide receivers that are skyrocketing up right now. Guys like Kadarius Toney, guys like Marquise Brown. Before we get into it though, if you guys could, go down and drop a like on this video. I'm answering every single comment. If you guys have any questions, feel free to let me know down below. And subscribe to the channel. It is the #1 way to support me. It's completely free. It would mean the absolute world to me, guys. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You can always change your mind later. With that, though, guys, let's hop right into it with our first player, and that is Kadarius Toney.
To Toney. Slips right through that tackle.
Wow, you're seeing
look at him go.
And so with Kadarius Toney, let's outline the bull case first. I mean, first of all, he's in one of the best offenses in the entire NFL, with Patrick Mahomes, one of the best quarterbacks of all time, in a depth chart that is pretty much absolutely desolate. I mean, we're talking about a depth chart comprised of Marquez Valdes-Scantling and Sky Moore as the wide receiver 1 and 3 in this offense. Of course, you have Travis Kelce, the target leader in this offense, but at the same time, it really is up for grabs. I mean, anyone in this offense can take the lead role. Why not be Kadarius Toney, somebody who has been very efficient on a yards per route run basis, and we've seen the talent of whenever he's played. I mean, he had the longest punt return in Super Bowl history, and he can make just about anyone miss, as you'll see right here. But the bear case for Kadarius Toney is something that I'm very concerned with. I mean, this is somebody that only had 30 total targets this past season with the Chiefs, and that includes the playoffs, which is pretty concerning to me. Not only that, he has never been able to stay on the field consistently. I mean, this is somebody who played 9 games and 10 games in his first 2 NFL seasons, and his injury history for someone so young is a bit concerning to me as well. I don't like to deem people injury prone, but Kadarius Toney has the frame where I think he could potentially be an injury prone type of player. Not only that, this is somebody who was barely utilized by the Chiefs last season. He was the 5th wide receiver in terms of total snaps, and it wasn't even particularly close. He had 128 snaps. Mecole Hardman even had significantly more snaps at 300. And yes, I get it. He did go to the Chiefs midway through the season, so it does make sense. But he never had a game this season with the Chiefs where he cracked 50% of the total snaps, which is pretty concerning to me from a total volume perspective. And this is somebody that has been soaring up boards. Right now, he has an ADP of 72 as the wide receiver 38, which lists him as a high-end wide receiver 4, low-end wide receiver 3, which is a bit concerning to me, especially considering the wide receivers that are around him that are a ton more proven. I mean, we're talking about guys like Mike Evans, guys like Deontay Johnson, guys like George Pickens, who have all had 800-plus yard seasons at the NFL level, which Kadarius Toney has simply never had. I mean, his best NFL season was his rookie year with the Giants, where he had 420 yards. This past season, only 171. And yes, I get it. He's going to be more accustomed to this offense next season. He's going to be learning the playbook. There is a lot pointing in the right direction for Kadarius Toney, especially considering how great he was on a yards per outrun basis. But I am a bit concerned that he's never going to be on the field all that much for the Chiefs. More of a gadget type of wide receiver than somebody who's going to be receiving a full-time workload in this offense, and that really concerns me. Yes, he will have boom weeks because that's the type of talent he has, but I think he will be a bit better for best ball rosters rather than just your standard redraft rosters, and that's why I think he is going a little bit higher. Personally, I don't like it that much. I think Kadarius Toney's a great player, but I cannot justify taking him alongside guys like Deontay Johnson and George Pickens. Either way, let's move on to my next player, and that is Marquise Brown.
Lamar loads up for Marquise Brown. Makes it look easy for 43.
And Marquise Brown is another guy that's been soaring up boards, and this one I get behind a lot more. I mean, this is somebody who surged from an ADP of around 76 2 weeks ago to now 61 with the departure of DeAndre Hopkins, and losing DeAndre Hopkins was actually huge for Marquise Brown. I mean, this is somebody through the first 6 weeks of the season, he was the wide receiver 6 without DeAndre Hopkins. Then gets injured, has a rough end to the season because Colt McCoy was the quarterback, but with Kyler Murray potentially coming back to this offense earlier than you'd think, we've seen how great Kyler Murray and Marquise Brown can be in small doses, and this is another combo for best ball where Marquise Brown is an absolute boom player, somebody who could have a 70-yard touchdown on a given game, and if that happens, your ceiling in these best ball drafts is significantly higher. Remember, we are trying to draft these players for weeks 15, 16, 17 to have the absolute highest ceiling possible, and I think Marquise Brown gives you that type of ceiling. I love Marquise Brown. We've seen the talent as was there. He was the wide receiver 22 with Lamar Jackson a mere 2 years ago when he had over 140 targets and over 1,000 yards. I mean, this is a player that I think could really break out onto the scene this year if he is able to stay healthy, which he has been for most of his career. Last season was a little bit of an anomaly for him. Before that, he'd only missed 3 total games. So I think Hollywood Brown deserves to be soaring up these boards. I think it makes a lot of sense that he's going at an ADP of 61 right now. Well, it may be a little rich for some people's taste. I think it is absolutely fine when considering these wide receivers are flying off the board at a rate we've almost never seen before in fantasy football. So I think going out and getting Marquise Hollywood Brown is absolutely fine. Either way, let's move on to my third player, and that is Calvin Ridley.
Steps to it to time up with the route.
Just
and
like
the end
that.
result is touchdown.
Calvin Ridley.
And so Calvin Ridley is one of the most interesting players in the entire NFL. Obviously, he did not play at all last season and only played 5 games 2 seasons ago, but the talent is absolutely there. I mean, this is somebody who finished as the wide receiver 4 in standard scoring with Matt Ryan a mere 3 years ago. Now he gets the best quarterback of his career potentially in Trevor Lawrence, somebody who looks to be on the cusp of a breakout. So Calvin Ridley is stepping into a great situation with a great offense. The problem really is this depth chart. I mean, you have Christian Kirk here, somebody who they signed to massive money and somebody who had a pretty productive season last season with over 1,100 yards and 8 touchdowns. You also have Zay Jones, somebody who was pretty productive as well and had over 800 yards last season. You also have Travis Etienne, somebody who was pretty productive as well and is being touted as a very, very good pass catcher. Well, he only received a little over 50 targets last season. It still is possible that Travis Etienne's season uptick this season in his total pass catching. So the problem really is there may be too many mouths to feed in this offense. So I went and I looked a little bit deeper. Last season, Trevor Lawrence threw the ball the 7th most times out of any quarterback in the NFL. And I know what you're thinking. That is a lot. That is a lot of pass attempts. But at the same time, they were only 17th in total pace of play last season, meaning they have a good amount of room to move up and simply just run more plays. Not only that, Trevor Lawrence is taking a step up, second year in this scheme with Doug Peterson. I foresee Trevor Lawrence throwing the ball a significant amount more than he did last season, and there is a surprising amount of room to grow for Trevor Lawrence. I mean, this is somebody who threw the ball 584 times, whereas the lead quarterback, Tom Brady, threw the ball 733 times. I could see the Jaguars throwing the ball 600 plus times this next season, and I don't think anyone would bat an eye. I'm projecting Trevor Lawrence right now with somewhere around 625 pass attempts, which lines him up closer to guys like Kirk Cousins and Joe Burrow, and if that's the case, Trevor Lawrence will be seeing a pretty huge uptick in the amount of passing volume that he's going through. And if Calvin Ridley is able to solidify himself as the wide receiver 1 in this offense, I am absolutely fine with that. My main concern is the fact that he hasn't played football in 2 years, but if he hits, he is a potential league winner at the position. I thought I was going to be very, very high on Calvin Ridley rather than consensus. I thought if I were taking him in the 4th round, I would be absolutely fine and I'd be getting him every time. Right now, his ADP is 31, which means he's going in the middle of the 3rd round, which is personally a little bit rich for me, but I absolutely see the bull case for Calvin Ridley. The problem is the depth chart and the fact that he hasn't played in 2 years. We don't know how the split is going to be in this offense, but Calvin Ridley is too talented of a wide receiver to not have anywhere really that much lower. So that's why Calvin Ridley is a guy rising up boards. He's somebody that's personally been rising in my eyes as well, but I don't know if I can take him as the wide receiver 16 here. Either way, let's move on to my last player, and that is DeAndre Hopkins.
Murray heaves it downfield. It is caught. It is caught. DeAndre Hopkins.
And so DeAndre Hopkins is another guy that has been rising up these boards, not as much recently because the news broke about 2 weeks ago now, but at the same time, DeAndre Hopkins is somebody with supreme talent. I mean, this is somebody who was a 5-time All-Pro at the NFL level. Last year, it looked like he hadn't lost a step. Last year, it looked like he was going to be a potential league winner, going in the mid-70s because he did end up missing the first 6 games. But DeAndre Hopkins is an absolutely phenomenal player and somebody who can find himself on a great offense. I mean, DeAndre Hopkins at the age of 30 is not going to want to go to a team like the Texans. It simply makes no sense. He is going to want to go to a contender, whether it be the Cowboys, whether it be the Bills, whether, heck, it be the Chiefs. I mean, there are so many places that DeAndre Hopkins can end up, get paid top tier money, and still dominate at the NFL level and be a great fantasy asset. I mean, right now he's coming off the board as the wide receiver 20 with an an ADP of 39. I am absolutely all over that. I mean, this is somebody who could end up on a great team. This is somebody with all the talent in the world. This is a true one of a wide receiver. And I think DeAndre Hopkins getting cut was a good thing for him. I mean, this is somebody who is going to be playing with Colt McCoy for the first couple weeks of the season at least. Then comes back to potentially Kyler Murray. And Kyler Murray and him, yes, they had a great rapport. But getting a quarterback potentially like a Josh Allen, getting a quarterback potentially like a Patrick Mahomes, is simply great for DeAndre Hopkins. I think no matter where he goes, he will receive a wide receiver 1 workload, and that's exactly why I'm drafting him just about everywhere, and I think he deserves to be skyrocketing up these rankings. Anyways, guys, that's going to be it from me. I hope you did enjoy the video. If you did, again, go smash that like button. I'm answering every comment, so if you guys have any questions, please feel free to let me know, and subscribe to the channel. It is the #1 way to support me. It's completely free. You can always change your mind later. With that, though, guys, as always, have a good day, a good night, and a good life. Thank you guys so much. Peace out.